waiting, patience. Whew, those are hard things, right? The beginning of this video was just about 1 minute. Okay, so 1 minute out of your day, and you were probably either already clicked off the video, trying to scrub through it, figuring out when it started, right? But we can't even give up 1 minute of waiting. So we are now in Advent, right? And Advent is like the arrival of Jesus. And it is a time leading up to that arrival where we are waiting and we are preparing our hearts, right? But our culture, and not just ours, it's just humans, okay? Let's not be overly hard on our current self right now. Humans are not good at waiting and being patient, right? It is a difficult thing to do. Why is it hard? We want something, and our desire for that thing needs and wants to be fulfilled. When does it want to be fulfilled? Right when we want the thing, right? And a lot of our, because of technology, a lot of that has been able to be achieved, right? I want to talk to my friend. Send him a text. I want to see my friend. FaceTime him, right? I want this product. Amazon, 2-day shipping, right? Whatever we want, we get. We are not you. So I don't think that we're any worse at waiting than like previous humanity, but I do think we have a lot less practice, right? And so that when we are forced to wait, it is very difficult. But is there a benefit to waiting? Will we maybe value the thing that we've had to wait for more than if we just get everything we want instantly? Imagine like if that was literally the case, that you could just get whatever you want when the moment that you want it. Would we value those things anymore? Or would they feel cheap and easily forgotten and disposable, right? There is value in waiting. And next week, we're going to talk more about the idea of like what we do during waiting, right? How does having patience and how does waiting build character, right? But for now, this week, let's just talk about this idea of like waiting gives a thing value. And specifically, if we're talking about the Christmas story, the arrival of Jesus was like prophesied all the way back to Adam and Eve, right? So we're talking thousands of years the people have been waiting for a savior. Thousands of years. Now, obviously, a savior, right? Jesus has intrinsic value. Value because he's a human, because he's God, because he's a savior. All those things, right, are value within himself. But for people to value him, to think he's worthwhile, to think he's worthy, to not easily toss him aside, waiting has given him even more value, right? Because at this point, when Jesus is arriving, like people's waiting and longing is at like a boiling point, right? It's like spilling over how much they desire this. They've gone through so much, right? When we do our Bible, like history 101, 102, 201, all the Bible history that we've done, everything leading up to the arrival of Jesus has been Israel conquered over and over and over by different empires, right? And they've been longing for this savior. Now, they didn't really anticipate Jesus not being the political savior that they thought they would get, right? A king that would deliver them from empires. But this waiting, this extended period of waiting, caused the people to truly value Jesus, right? To value a savior. So in our lives, what are we waiting for? What are we longing for? What do we need patience for? Right? But I want to encourage you this week to think about, how does the waiting help you realize the true value of the thing you're waiting for, right? In a world, in a culture where we get everything we want all of the time, how can waiting for something actually like separate that thing from the rest of everything else that we get whenever we want? How does it make something special and worthwhile, the fact that we have to wait for it? And how can it make it more enjoyable and better, right? The thing that obviously comes to mind, we've been stuck because of this pandemic, right? And we've been waiting for it to be over. Imagine how good it's going to feel when it is over, right? Obviously, it would have been great, and we obviously would have preferred it if it had ended after the initial 2 weeks, right? But it would have been this weird like blip, like that was weird, but glad to be back to normal, right? But now that it's been months, the feeling of being back to normal is going to be like, oh yes, like it's so much better because of the waiting, because it's been so long, because we've had to be patient. Now, obviously, there are some people who haven't been patient, who have been going to parties, who have been doing whatever they want. For them, when things go back to normal, it's just going to be like, whatevs. But if you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing, to then suddenly be told, like, it's all good now, go back to doing your life. Oh, yeah, that's a good moment, right? And it's because of the waiting. It's because of the waiting. So, consider, what are you waiting for? And how does the waiting actually allow you to understand the true value of the thing you're waiting for? So that's waiting part 1. Next week, waiting part 2. Next week, I promise there won't be just a minute of silence at the beginning. We'll just get right into it. But next week, waiting part 2, we'll talk about, what does it mean? What are we doing preparing our hearts, right? But that's week 2. So, what are you waiting for? How does the waiting make that thing better? How do you better understand its value because of the waiting?